What's up, everybody? It's Kier, and I'm going to show you how I make a fingerboard. So, I don't know what to start with, but I think this is going to be a long form video. I don't feel like editing it, and also I'm curious to see how long it takes me to make one board, because it feels like it's forever. Not that I don't enjoy doing it, but it's quite a long process because I don't really use a lot of like modern helping implements that I could be using, because one, I don't feel like paying for it, and two, it's just like more interesting to me, I think, to kind of like make everything myself instead of buying all the shit that you can get that makes everything the same the same way. And I would encourage you to as well. The only thing with that is your products are going to end up not really looking perfect, and you kind of have to be really vigilant about perfecting them if you really want to be selling them for like more than $10, I would say. That would be my suggestion. I think for myself, honestly, I'm more like just like cover shipping costs. If you want to pay more, that's amazing, epic, we love that. My standard is like, if I'm like thinking about how much money per deck, like fucking $10, man. Like I don't, you know, that feels better to me. I also like don't know. I am like really intense about making sure boards aren't warped. Like even like boards that I have that are not mine. I always look, every time I use a board, I look down the center, especially if I'm feeling like the turning feels a little weird. Like for some reason, in my old age, I used to not care about this. In my old age, I'm very like particular that the holes have to be right, and that like the turning has to be, if it's ghost riding, it's ghost riding because of the bushings and not because I just can't handle it. So that's fun. That's funny. But basically, I mean, it's funny that I'm so particular because the way that I do stuff is highly unscientific, but that's why I think it's like funny. It'd be funny to document it because it's just so comical. Some of the methods that I have. Sometimes I feel like I hear people outside, or it's just shoveling. Okay, so I'm gonna say that a lot. I don't know how many videos like this I've made on my FB channel, but I say, okay, so a lot. It's really stupid. What should I start with? Oh, so okay, I have, well, so the other reason I make this video is because I want to, like make your own shit. That's fun. Also, you can press between two tech decks, old school, like Tim. And I think that's a fun, I'm pretty sure he still does that, but regardless, like you just go do it. Just buy some old tech deck, like old ones. Don't make them the new shit with the fucking kinks in the. I mean, I think Tim does. Like that's fine for, you know, if you do that, it's fine. But I would recommend, if you do want to press a 32 millimeter with the concave kinks, you can easily melt that shit and like buff the kinks out. Depending on which side you're doing, the top might be a little harder, which then would make the bottom kinked. Yeah, I don't know. You figure that out. Not for me to figure out because I don't do that. So I made, what does that mean? I made this mold, this material. I need to make a new one of these because it doesn't cover the whole thing. Sometimes the sides over here kind of like and this one's fine because there's glue happening. You just can't make them. I don't think I've ever made a 34 out of this mold. I have like a 26 pressing the top. Like that's, you know, the top is important, but it's not that important, but sometimes it is important. There's also like glue in here. That's not good. It's been seeping through this walnut. So, like this video just showcases all my like mental illnesses probably, mental funnesses. So, God, can't stop saying that. So, yeah, this plastic is this material. It's a vintage, you know, paper return. So, basically, don't melt plastic. Do as I say, not as I do. But if you were to, do it outside if you were to. But, don't do that. Don't do it. I'm just going to say that if you want to fabricate something, I guess I should probably stay centered in the cameras. Yeah. If you want to, fabricate something, you can, you know, plastic can be, so, like, yeah, I just did this by eye, which, leads to, I think they're okay now, but they're pretty straight. Sometimes if a board isn't totally, like, cured yet, like if it's still kind of cold and it's been in the mold for a day, but it's still cold, you can look down the concave and just torque it a little bit and make it good, and just like do that a few times if you feel if you feel like it's warped. But these are looking fine. So I think my concave, or my whatever you would call that, your 2 points there, I think they're straight. But there was a while where I was shaving down stuff. I made this mold purposefully with really aggressive kicks. And you can see that there. So nobody does that, and I thought it would be funny, so that's what you get. Also, they have a bit of rocker to them, which means when you mount trucks on, they're not going to be perfectly like flat. They're going to be a little kind of like bowed out on either side, which I've like somewhat tried to fix, but I also don't care, and I also think it's funny, and also, yeah, it feels like a surfboard, so so fuck it. So let's see, the wood that I've been using, I use all sorts of wood. Jesus, my mouth is dry. Hold on. I use all sorts of wood. Usually, sometimes I get stuff from a friend who has a wood shop, and that's fun. I don't particularly like the vibe of just buying only one type of thing. I mean, it's fine if you do it. I don't care. I don't care about anything. You know, like, whatever, but it's kind of more interesting to me. I don't know. I'm a goofy person, like, and I don't, and I'm not, the thing, I would rather be a huge goofball and have the people who seek out whatever I'm making, like, they somewhat, I guess, would be getting the kind of joke, but also it's an object, so it's by nature kind of not a joke, but, you know, it's like kind of silly, so it's not super serious. Getting that, and then people who don't get it can be like, oh, that's weird. That's fine. This is all weird. This isn't a normal. This is my short mold. The fuck is the bottom to it? So I have two different wheelbases. I have my short one. That nose is too long. Jeez, can't. I have two different wheelbases. One is a baby mold, and one is a normal mold. But the normal mold is like short. So I feel like I I feel like if I put a normal, I need to remember to fix that. Where's my worm? Give me my worm. Fuck. Yes, there's my worm. Well, I feel like, I can't talk right. I feel like if you, what am I saying? I feel like worms have a somewhat short wheelbase. What am I doing? Yeah, it's like a hair shorter than, yeah, it's like maybe like 2 or 3 millimeters shorter than a worm wheelbase. So the normal boards are small because my mold is small and my mold is also hella steep. So my wheelbases end up around like 40 usually. I have a bunch of guides actually that I drew that I reference from. You'll see. I have all these like, they're on the website. So I made a web page called Bedazzled Seashell Trading Hut .neocities.com, and that's where the shape guides are. If you want one, like pick one. So this is my short wheelbase mold, and yeah, just like make shit. I don't know, like it's fun, experiment. It's gonna turn out so bad. It's a craft. It's not a business. Like I don't know how to explain that more clear. But it can be, and I get it. People, like do your livelihood and all that. Like, thankfully I have like a full-time job cleaning a building that this is a hobby. And for some people it's not, I understand, and they need it to be perfect and they do the thing. But like, if you have the means to be creative and like fuck around and like make something different that like no one's seen, that shit is so fun and sick and so cool to see. So anyway, I basically kind of just spliced. Again, like the bottom is more important than the top, in my opinion. That'll get you into trouble though, especially around the corners here, since I don't have any like supports for the corners. I do have a shape that I like to do with this wheelbase that's like a square tail, so I kind of like, I'm careful because sometimes it can like sog out because it's not supported. So I do have a hole guide that I drilled in this one, but I've never tried it. You'll see how I do my holes. It's a nightmare. But it is a method if you want to make holes without a hole thing, like it's a method to getting pretty good holes. I send these out to people, like, and they're usable and they don't, like, I don't know. I think they're okay, but they're definitely not perfect. Which is frustrating, but also that's why I kind of don't, like, I'm not selling my shit for a lot of money because it's not perfect. It's handmade. I think doing it this way is way harder than doing it with like super massive template guides, perfection, all that shit. Like, this is the thing is, I'm not gonna say this is how we used to do it back in the day, like this specifically, because it's not. But back in the day, people cared less about what stuff looks like. Sort of, at least because I was like 13. But like, you know what I mean? Ew, I just took way too much off. Yeah, some of these veneers I have are like really soft, like ridiculously overly soft. And yeah, so sometimes you gotta, less is more, you gotta be careful. Yeah, I think this is a funner way to, I would recommend, if you want to get into this type of thing, I would recommend reshaping your old boards that you don't want anymore. Obviously, be careful about that. Don't go reshape, a fancy board that you're going to want. But if a board is just beat the hell and it's just, it's from a company you don't really care about, whatever, reshape it. Golly, that takes off stuff fast. I need to stop doing that. So it's important to kind of like gather tools that will work for you, and you can kind of get a sense of that by practicing. Jeez Louise, man. I'm about to switch the nose and the tail doing all this reshaping. But that's like the skill that you get. God, I think the camera's making me worse. So hopefully doing holes on camera is going to be amazing. So just like reshape stuff, and like when you're reshaping boards, less is always more. And you don't even have to use them, but sometimes you'll get an idea where you're like, oh, I'm gonna make like, say like a pocket board or something with like a really specific like fun cruiser shape or whatever. And you'll have an idea, and you draw it on. And a lot of these tips that I'm gonna show in this video, hopefully, will like tell you how to do that. I think will like show you exactly how to. That looks better. That looks like more of a nose than a freaking ridiculous long kick. I don't know where I was getting those measurements from. Probably from my shape guide. So maybe I should change that. Okay. This is my veneer pile currently. I bought some walnut, but sometimes I do internal splits with these. Yeah, I don't know. I have this really thick maple. I think this is maple. Also, I've really enjoyed doing top plies with this Brazilian yellow heart, but I'm running out of it, unfortunately. But it does the wood burning really well, which I like to burn a little logo on the top. Let's see. So, but I haven't done that to any of these yet, but I will do it to whatever one I make out of this. Okay. So, yeah, I have a few shapes. Most of these that I've just made are, this is the 26, this is a 26 mini. These are both for a friend that the package got lost in the mail, so I've made 4 now. This is, I don't know who this is for yet, probably Jeremy, but, yeah, oh yeah, don't tell anybody. It's a So, yeah, it's fun, like, it's called the Boinkerton. But basically, I was like, I really love this shape. It actually is worth talking about. Because, what did I base it off of? Somebody gave me a high concave board once that was like 34, and I was like, I want to reshape this into like into a Brody type shape. Wow, it even looks so different now. That's crazy. So keep it 34 and do it like a Brody. I've been looking at this so much that I thought they look similar, but they don't. Huh, that's funny. So you could do it that, and then make a little bit more nose, but have that kind of like fishtail shape. And obviously, I really like equalized the bumps length. So make this so it fits TDLB trucks, and still has the thing with this. I think it also has really good tape on it, but it was like I could just do any trick first try because it had the steep concave, and I was like, this thing is like a magic board. Oh, it's worked. It's a magic board, and I love that about it because it's fun to like, but it kind of felt weird because it was like the kicks were really steep. Oh, I also, yeah. If you look on the story highlight of stuff, I think I still have it up where it's like, I combined 2 shapes to make that shape. Yes, I have this other one that I reshaped. I think Zoe made this for me. So, but I reshaped it slightly. It was a popsicle after using it as a popsicle. So, just kind of like a 30 millimeter in a slightly, squared tail, but having like a slight curve to it. Almost like a kind of like a frog old school shape, like, the real skateboards. But like a spooned nose. So anyway, this and that other board are kind of like that. This is combined. And then modified to be like good looking. I'm trying. Not really. I think if I redid the shape, I'd move the curves a little slightly down more. But I ended up with this, and I kind of like this. I think it like performs better, I think, but I also haven't really tried it. Like I thought about that the other day. I'm like, I haven't really like used it. For some reason, my holes look really small on this, and I'm like, will they fit? Yeah, they fit. I think it's just I've been shaping a lot of 26s lately. So, but this board is really fun, I think. Pretty sure. I've gotten good feedback, and people have sent me clips using it. It's just very like tight and like wide. You can just do shit with it, as is a fingerboard. So that's fun. But did I like cover everything? I think I covered everything that I was attempting to say about that stuff. But yeah, like just like reshape things for fun and like think of cool shapes that you want to see and make them out of popsicles that are like 34 is a great, you know, it's cool. You have a lot of wood to work with. But definitely like symmetry is an important thing. So I remember like the reason I kind of know how to do this, I think, is because I used to shape skateboards, or I still do. Like both from uncut and also from, you know, like reshaping popsicles to make them new. I do that a lot where I flip the nose around as the tail, and then like if you're running at a kick, you can like move your holes slightly in, and like if you're razor tailing, and then reshape your nose to a tail, and you'll have a whole new board basically. It'll just change the wheelbase, and it will slightly impact your leverage if you move your holes too in, but you can squeak out a whole other board in a skateboard if you really want to. It'll just be different, and then you gotta like change the grip so it's not the wrong way. I'm also an artist, and I typically have a lot of like straight lines in my art, so I think I have an eye for like balancing things possibly, and kind of like understanding when things look like they're even. So, and I've also worked a lot doing that like in career-wise of hanging things straight and whatever. And doing it by eye, because sometimes, I mean, not necessarily in this context, but sometimes you need that skill because in other contexts, the things that you're measuring against aren't level, or like they aren't even square either. And then your thing will end up looking wrong. It just depends. It just has to look right. It doesn't have to like be scientifically perfect. It just has to look, and then also perform right, obviously. But with a fingerboard, that really doesn't take a lot of, like it does, but it doesn't. There's like a weird like, I don't know. We'll see. So typically, I try to eyeball where the center is, and I do that by like putting it in the light and kind of like seeing where the mold fell, which this isn't very scientific, but I just have been doing this way, and it usually works pretty well. And if I do really fuck it up, you can kind of like fudge out a concave if you're like, okay, it's like too much concave on one side. Just sand the one side that needs to be like bumped down. You sand it here, and then sand it here. Obviously, if it's really bad, just really no fixing it. But like, I think I did that. Where the hell? I did that with this one, cause I really fucked the side up. This is just gonna be a wall board for somebody. I know who, but oh yeah, it's a bad wood burning. This is a screen print. I screen printed this. It took me, how many tries did it take me to do this one? 3 or 4 different passes, and then wiping it off, because screen printing's a nightmare. Because I have really bad ink is the reason. But it eventually works well if I do it with a silicone wristband as the squeege, so it's all dumb. And the stuff is like expired ink from like a really long time ago. That's like a weird watery, it's like congealing and whatever. So that's good. I try to like figure out where the center is by eye. I feel like this one is slightly, I don't know, I can't tell. So I kind of like draw a line down it with a ruler. This is just a rough. I think I'm going to make a classic, what the fucking graphic, where is it? A classic bedazzled seashell. This one has some spots on it, so I won't be using that one. But the classic popsicle, 27.5 millimeters. it's gonna fit 28 tech deck trucks, hopefully. That's what I made that shape for, to be skinny, but still 28, 29. I guess there's probably a little bit of underhang, but whatever. So maybe not if you shape in the tech deck hangers. If you custom shape and then you have it in, then you squeeze in the axles. They'll probably be perfect for that. I don't know. I've seen them used. They look fine. So, and I've also seen people use them with 26. That's why I made it as an in-between size, which I kind of don't like when it comes to 33.5, but for some reason I thought that was a good idea. So what I do is, if I'm aiming for 27.5, but let's say 28, you'll do 14. This line is horrible. You'll do 14 where the line is falling, and then I go slightly outside of it. So, well, I did not go outside of that. 14 and then 28. Yep, that makes sense. And then on the other side, just gotta catch where that line is going. But it does take a lot of like visual. I do think being an artist helps. I look at things with one eye a lot. Sleep with one eye open, you know. Grabbing your pillow tight, etc. So it just takes a little bit of practice, I think. Like, I think sometimes I like catch myself doing this stuff like really automatically, and I'm like, it seems like probably this is like a skill that I've developed. Golly, I'm hungry, my stomach. Okay, we're just gonna ignore that for now. But you know what I mean? Like, it seems like this is like a trade that I've like progressed at, and that I didn't. I mean, we all start somewhere for sure, but like it seems like me just saying like, oh, you just do this might not be like a helpful tip. Like, I might need to remember to not say that type of thing. So the way that I take this material off, yeah, so I just make a straight line down as my blank that I'm then going to begin hand shaping. I don't use a lot of power tools. The only power tool I use is a Dremel for countersinks. And it does get that. I mean, that's a bad example. Those look stupid. Well, you get the picture. They all look stupid. This one looks okay. Yeah, but besides that, I like to go slow and exact because I don't know. I would prefer that because I can be precise. Piece of floss. So, I mean, this is dangerous. Don't do this, but if you do, watch out. I haven't changed this blade in a long time. It's like a dull, a nice dull blade. We love a dull blade. That doesn't take off too much. So, get my, gotta make sure it's still recording, of course. So, this is like a get ready with me, but like fingerboard edition. So, you want to start, you don't want to do this because it's dangerous. I start kind of like near the back and just like take stuff off. I think it also helps that like some of my veneer is kind of soft. Yeah, this also like makes a mess when you do it, so someday I'll have a garage workspace type thing. I used to make boards back in the day under the name Tradecraft. And sometimes you still see them floating around, but my holes were absolutely terrible. I hope to everything that I didn't charge more than like $15 for those boards, because especially back then, I don't think I did. I think I charged around 15. If I did at all, I didn't sell that many. I also like used art I found online, which is like stupid. Like, make your own art. Don't just like, or like if it's a joke, obviously, that's fine. But mine wasn't really a joke. It was just art that I liked that were from other artists, and obviously, they were famous artists. Like, I didn't ask them or get permission, but I also didn't sell any, so it's not. Or I probably had sold like 3, but you know what I'm saying. It's bad. That's bad behavior. Woke up the neighbors. So that's around 28. Golly, my stomach is growling. I'm so sorry. Yeah, as you can see there, detritus just goes everywhere. Okay, so you kind of just like get your, you kind of like get your line right. This also gives you a really good hand workout. So, you know, if you're practicing for the fingerboard championships, maybe make some fingerboards in a really DIY way, and then your other hand will get strong, which is what you need. Yeah. So that doesn't make sense. That's good. You just get your line right, and really be careful when you get close to it that you don't take too much off, because that can happen and you really don't want that. You really got to be careful. Ow. As soon as you, oh my god, my stomach. As soon as you see you're getting close to it, or you're like taking too much material off in a certain place, don't. Because, I mean, I sort of just did that, but that's why I say measure a few millimeters out. It's probably a better way to do this. Okay. So after I do that, yeah, that's fine. After I do that, I get my Stanley hand rasp with a blade that I haven't changed in probably 5 years. I've shaped so many things with this blade, and it's like really dull. Another dull blade. And so this takes a while, honestly. But you want to get your sides perfectly flat, and so that your measurement is the same on both sides. You're basically creating like a perfect blank that you're then going to get your shape off of. I also should be wearing a protective dust mask when I do this, and we'll just say I'm not right now because I'm trying to talk. So yeah, I totally normally wear a dust mask all the time. That's totally a fact. So, but yeah, you can like fuck up your lungs if you breathe in wood dust all the time. But basically just get your line solid, because it's not going to be solid using a utility knife. You could probably do this with a belt sander if you're rich. Who's texting me? Oh, my USPS informed delivery. Not sending me packages, or telling me they're being sent when they actually are. So you can kind of tell what weight to put. Like, you put weight on a certain edge if you feel like I feel like this edge is a little heavy, but I also did like a weird dip in here. That's fine, but I don't know. You just want to get your, as I've said like 4 times already, you want to get your lines right. But it's true. You want your lines looking really good, because if your lines look sharp, this goes with the shape as well. If your lines look sharp, then when you round your corners over, they'll look even more perfect. Don't pay attention to these lines. Like, flip stuff, you want to flip stuff over. Sometimes seeing a shape from another angle or a different thing will be like, oh, I was looking at it too, like I thought it was heavy this way, but it was not. So sometimes, you know, sometimes flipping something around. So once you get your lines right, we're still probably at 28 or 20. Actually, we're at just 27.5. So I'm gonna really chill on the sides there, because that's perfect. Actually, what is this? Because this looks thinner. 27.5. Okay, we're good. Got me worried there for a second, because it feels like, as I just said, I was gonna chill on the sides. It feels like this is I don't know. But sometimes it could be like these things throwing you off, these like weird little like non-important angles. Just feels like it's a little bottom heavy. I mean, I could check that. So, no, it's whatever. So, your sides are right. If I was still at 28, I mean, this is fine. I would go look down the concave, like look down the concave, and then if my bump of the middle of the concave, and you can also look at it in the light like I did before, if the bump feels like it's slightly off center, like not even paying attention to the line that I drew on it, if it just feels off, you can say like, okay, I'm at 28 and I'm going down to 27.5. This side has too much, therefore I'm going to take that 0.5 millimeter off on this side. So just getting your width right is really important. But my width is perfect right now. And I kind of see, this has been a problem with my mold that I still need to fix. Sometimes my kicks go up on the angle on one side, which I have fixed before, but I think they still need a little more tuning. So sometimes I'll just take some material off very slightly until it feels a little more even. But this is a problem for this kick. Like I really need to fix that. That's the thing of doing it all hand. I've like modified that a bunch of times before. But it's still not perfect to my eye. But it'll be fine because this is a square shape. If I was doing a square kick, this would matter. But typically I do a lot of, I don't know, is it that way on the...
Is it that way on the blanketing?
Not that bad. Like it's slightly not who cares? So, I mean I care, but. So since I'm doing a popsicle shape, usually I'll have a shape guide, like for the Boinkerton I have a shape guide that I draw on. This is important. There's many things here. So, but for popsicles I don't. But here's how so my 26 guide, god damn it, I'm so hungry. Fuck. I want to film this. My shape guide gives me my wheelbase, it gives me my tail, because what I basically did is I made a good one, just like by eye, and I was like, okay, this feels good, and then I make a shape guide out of that, and then that's how I make them then on, and then if I need to change something, I do. But basically, determining how to get to this in a way where it's like, it's not too one way or the other. I use a base plate with tack on the bottom that's getting really gross. So I need to like refresh some of it. Or just replace the tack altogether. Oh, I have like food right beside me. Snoot fracks. Okay. I'm not a child. So, take a base plate. And I look down, I don't even know how to show that. I look down where it feels like it's getting to where it starts to become angled. And for most of my shapes, I've found that like, it's like that plus a little bit in where I've decided is a good place to put the chuck. So you don't want too many like fingers of flat, which is what I did. It's what I did to this board because I fucked the tail up. So I drilled it the same tail length, but I drilled the holes in, and it's just like, there's too much fingers of flat here. That's not even a term applicable to a fingerboard because obviously, I don't know you get what I'm saying. If you know what fingers of flat are on a skateboard. So right now we're not doing the holes yet, but this is similar to how I do the holes. I'm just saying this measurement right here. I'm saying these are where my holes are at for this kick, and then it's probably somewhere around there. These are where my holes are at for this kick. So if my wheelbase is right, then I go on to measure my kick length, but if it's wrong, I adjust. So for this, I've been doing 39.5 for the wheelbase. This is at 41 or 40.5, so I'm gonna move these in, and I'm gonna draw them on the other side of the truck. sometimes when you move them in, less is super duper more because that measurement gets like really aggressive fast. Like I'm not really like even looking. I'm just pretty sure that like both of them need to be moved in the same amount, probably. So I can't stop saying so. What is that measurement? Oh, that looks way too in actually. Perfect. So, golly, stop saying that for one
blasted second. Can I stop that?
I'm gonna measure, because the only reason I did this is to get my centering right and then to get my my kick length. So let's see. Then I kind of like look at what's the tail and what's the nose. I'm pretty sure I know by eye, usually. This one's actually a little hard to tell. This is the tail. So, hopefully there's enough there to work with. Sometimes this gets a little tight. 20 millimeters for the tail. So we go here on the line and hit the 20. And so now I'm gonna trim the kicks square at the right length. So you're just making like a perfect square basically. My nose should be 21. And these are all measurements I just made up. You can really make, ooh, that 21's getting close. You can make up anything. Like Ford has really short tails sometimes, or in my opinion. And when I make stuff, I'm like, oh, I don't want the tails to be too short. But then I try a Ford and I'm like, that shit kind of slaps. For example, well, let's do a normal one. A fudgesicle, would it be like 19 or 18? Maybe 19. Maybe I'm tripping. 19. So, and Max has given me some other ones that have even less tail. And they're fine. So, make shit up, I don't know. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. So, I'm gonna get these down while I make a mess of my room. That's fine. It seems all the plies shifted to this side. Yeah, obviously you're gonna not want to do this. Yeah, it's dangerous. Don't do it. I've also been like whittling shit for a long time in my life. So this is probably like I'm just guessing. I'm not saying that I'm special, but pretty sure this is a skill that maybe not everybody has. So if you do decide to do this, just use a belt sander. Just go buy a belt sander. Bad advice. Oh, I'm so hungry. We got fruit snacks on deck. So, honestly, how I make a popsicle shape, like, I'm not bad at this, I think. Like, these are pretty good popsicle shapes. I don't have a plan. I don't have a guide, I should say. I just, like, I make a few, take some material off that's not necessary at all to get right. Just to get a start, get close to it. Besides the length, I don't particularly have like a nose and tail difference that I prefer in terms of like I don't always make my noses box or anything. My general ethos for like a kick shape is pretty similar. Um, it's just kind of, you get a feel for it, especially when you're not like ravenously hungry. God. I use my rasp. And so, first I aim to get that corner out and start my round. And I like match. I get my sides. I do one kick at a time. I get my sides kind of like somewhat similar. And then I start like teasing out the shape that I want. And it's just, it's kind of like just a standard nice flowing popsicle shape. And I get the sides, close. And again, use a dust mask, especially when we get to the sanding part. Don't be breathing that shit in. It's probably not good for you. So this is, I've arrived at a boxy shape, like the internet character from when I was a child. And you just tease it out, and I do really like a nice in here. I like it to be beveled. I don't like it when it starts here. To me, that shape seems like cheap, but that's just a preference. But when you think of like a wood tech deck that's manufactured, or like a P-Rep or something, usually they're not gonna have like a nice round. But even, I mean, I'm typically not making 34s anyway. I think that is exaggerated a bit in a 34. Actually, it looks really worse in a small board, like a 30. It just doesn't look that good, but it performs pretty well. When you have like boxy kicks for some reason, like really squared, like hockey shaped kicks. We did that as a phase 1 board a while ago, and I was really like adamant about that shape. Like I really liked it. Here's an example in 32. Like just over exaggerated, because when it's like right on the line of looking normal but being like this, it doesn't look that good. This is a 6-ply, that's why the top is horizontal ply. But it skates really well. For certain tricks, I don't know. Shrews Nest kind of tastes like cigarettes, honestly. It's a little weird. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like when you start, here's the thing about balancing stuff. When you start not being able to tell what you're looking at and if it's right or not, you've probably arrived pretty close to where you're supposed to be. Yeah, that's fine. So get the corners out. Match it. Like the eye for symmetry is definitely a skill, I think. And you can use guides. So like if you feel like you're not very good at using symmetry, you can like make a guide where you can fold it in half and like get like a nice center fold line and apply it on where the center is and like trace both sides. It's really helpful to do with reshaping actual skateboards as well. If you're trying to make it super perfect and by eye feels weird, just making a template where it'll like, that is one case where like mathematically, if you get it perfect, it will look perfect. Unless like it's warped or something, but if you're skating a warped board that you're shaping, you probably don't really particularly care about things being perfect. Yeah, I mean, this is close. You just get close and you fix what you don't like, and you do less is more, so that if you do make a mistake, you can always go in. You want to be I'm doing not what I'm about to say right now, but you want to be shaping your rail very flat, super flat, so that you get like a perfect edge that you can look at that's really accurate to what's actually happening. Because if you start rounding it too soon, you're not going to be able to tell. And you're just going to be able to tell off this like really skinny edge, and then you're going to go to shape it, and then like it's all going to go away really fast because it's less material. So you really want to be like precise with it, and just, you want to be sculptural, you know, you want to be a sculptor. You want to get it looking right. It just takes more time, I guess. I honestly don't really know how people make fingerboards. I just know how I make them. And that the product that gets spit out at the other end of the process isn't that bad. And that's all you can really hope for. Like, it's a fun project. It's not really that fun to do a lot of these like this. But here we are. And so you just kind of, you know, clean up your edges, and go over your rounds. Make sure everything is looking pretty good. Yeah. Ow. Don't get your nails in the grater. Hate that. It's like the worst feeling. Okay. So I have a pretty nice piece of whatever grit sandpaper. You want to hit your rails with that. It's nice if it's like a stiff piece that's not like, I have this other kind of like scrunkly piece for like more detailing mushy stuff, like holes and whatever. Get that, wear your dust mask. Get that edge nice and flat, because primarily this edge is going to be what's informing where the holes are placed. Yeah, that looks right. I don't know if everybody can see, but get the edges right. You can even measure it. Just make sure you're at the right 27 and a half. 27 and a half. What's in the middle? Yeah, okay. So, I also wouldn't, Jesus, yeah, it's very dusty. I wouldn't advise like eating or drinking stuff around. I don't know, you don't want to be eating the wood if it's like treated. Generally not a good idea. So if I die early, it's probably because of all this shit. Or because I paint with house paints a lot. Or for a number of so many things that I do that are not good. Or it just makes me a superhero, I don't know. Okay, so you want to get your kicks nice and rounded. You could use like this type of method, but I kind of can't see what's happening when I do that, so I avoid. Typically just do this. Honestly, for a lot of this stuff, like I find sandpaper on the ground all the time because I walk everywhere. So a lot of this stuff I've just like done for free. Like that feels pretty cool. Like not putting a lot of money into it and then just being like, I'm gonna make something. I've always liked that. Again, doesn't make a perfect product usually, but you make something unique, you know, like in a time where everything looks the same, it's fun to be unique. It's like rewarding, you know? And also sometimes people like understand what's happening and they're like, oh, that's sick. I am like that for other people. So you just, the thing about this type of, not just me, but other people who clearly do stuff, I don't know, I guess everybody does stuff by hand to some extent, but like something without guides is like, this is like artistry, right? Like it's not a respected artistry, but it's still a skill. And like, I feel like this type of process, maybe not exactly what I'm doing right now, but this type of process could make like the best board ever, you know, because it's like slightly off in like perfect ways, you know, like it's indescribable, it's unrepeatable, it's chaotic, right? It sounds kind of dumb, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so you have your overall shape. Looks pretty good. Now, for the fun part, for the nightmare part. Okay. Holes. I need to refuel on my water. And my snoot fracks. Okay. So, you want to leave these marks around. Not so much the center line, but the marks of where, I can erase these. These were the bad marks. But the marks where you reference your nose from, I mean, you can get back to those marks but just by measuring, you know, but maybe you took too much off, maybe the measurement's different. It's nice if these marks are still there. So, you want to erase your middle line. I've been having a lot of glue coming through this walnut because it's really thin, which isn't great, but I put paper graphics on all these, which is why I use the cheap walnut as the bottom. It wasn't cheap, it's actually pretty expensive, but I think next time I'm gonna get some maple. I just wanted to try the walnut. The place that I get it from that's local to me is like, they're not very thick, which is why I like having this super thick maple metal ply. I like thick boards. That's just how it is. So sometimes you'll see, I can't. I hate going against the grain, but it's just the only angle I could see what's wrong at. I think. Yes, it's that. That's what's off. It's the mold being weird. Well, it's okay. So, it's not gonna be perfect. It's like drawing your eyebrows on. It's gonna be, they're sisters, not twins. So, this is my line. Okay. Now, you want to draw a new center line because maybe the center has shifted ever so slightly as you've perfected the sides. So, oh, this is actually reading 27 now. What about this? What's this? This is 27 and a half. How did I do that? And it looks, I'm so confused. I like it, Picasso. What's this? Oh, that says 27 and a half. Dude, whatever, who cares? Let's just say, I mean, it's funny, like, talking through this, because normally I just, like, watch YouTube videos and just, like, do this for an hour. I wonder how long I've been recording for. Oh, it's been an hour already. Maybe boards take more than an hour, you know? Which, you know, after shipping, usually, like, this is worth, like, $5 to me, basically. If that, I'd prefer trades, which actually probably increases the value. But when you end up in a place like that where you're like, I technically am getting paid, like, nothing to do this, that's how you know you're stoked on it, bruh. Like, duh. And I would still, like, it's the sickest. I don't know. Duh. Like, that's what, yeah. I would do this for free, but the buying, I have to buy a veneer sometimes. It's so fun. Until you fuck up or something, part of it fucks up and you're like, ah shit, I gotta remake a board for somebody. I'm not sure if I totally got that measurement right. But when it works and everybody gets their stuff right and it doesn't, I haven't had a board warp on me yet. Nobody's told me. If a board warps any that I've made, tell me, because I want to know. I want to like try to figure out why. Because I hate when boards warp. But if your board warps, just try bending it a little bit and see if that fixes it. But I don't want that to be a standard. And I think my boards have been pretty good. I use Tight Bond Tight Bond 2 is what I use for glue. So that's a classic. That's what I used back in the day. I was using Gorilla Wood Glue for a bit, and it's fine. I feel like Tight Bond 2 dries better. It seems. Boom. There we go. Okay, that's good. I'm not gonna eat my fruit snacks. I need actual food after I'm done with this. Bro, it's gonna take so long though. This is, I think, boards might take me, there's no way. I would be crazy if a board took me 3 hours to make and I've just been like dead to it this whole time. I'm talking through this so that adds time. But honestly, when I do this, I'm like watching something. So it probably takes actually a little bit longer. Okay. You want to draw your new center line. I like to make my pencil lead a little bit longer so I can actually get some height through the kick. So once you get a nice center line going, this has got to be perfect. It's very important that your center line is perfect. Put your lead back in its tube. Okay, so make your whole marking point darker so you can see it. Make sure the thing is actually going to stick to the board. Now you want to put the base plate. I need more tack. Better tack, need tack. Like the crisp Gaines. New tack, fun tack. Was he in Chris Gaines' character, or was he in Garth Land on the Facebook, you know? We're gonna do all sorts of things. Fun things, new things. I don't know what he actually said. Okay, tack reset. It has a bunch of wood particles in it, but whatever. Tack is super important in these streets. Like fingerboard obstacles, tack that shit down, brother. With it, like blue tack, white tack, whatever you got. Yeah, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking tack it down. It's so helpful. Foam tape on the bottom of that shit is not gonna stop it from moving. Okay. There we go. So now, put your base plate on. At the hole marker top place, squish down the tack. Make sure the tack is not near the holes, which it kind of is. God damn it. Damn it, Bobby. Okay. Get it away from the holes because you're going to be marking the holes. Even distribution, we love that. So, get it where it's supposed to be in its position. But then look at your line. Center the top, center the bottom. Look down it. Make sure it's centered. Look at it in context. Look at it from far away. That don't look right. Look at it with one eye open. And right? Just adjust it until it's swagonious. This is gonna take a while. Look at it again, adjust it again. I feel like sometimes holes take me just half an hour, you know, on their own. So press it down, make sure it's good. Mark that shit, like take the lead out a little bit. Mark the whole hole, go all around the outside as much as you can without moving. Like keep your finger on it so it doesn't move too much. It's not gonna be perfect, but you'll see when it's not after. So just hit the holes, all 4. We're not gonna be just doing 3. And then that looks okay. I can already see where it's kind of wrong, but okay, other one. This is the most stressful part, honestly, to me. Not this part, but making the holes. I don't drill them. I use a thumbtack and a loose drill bit because I'm very, very cool, you know? Okay, doesn't look right. Oh, there was fucking wood in that fruit stack. Just a meme machine over here. Okay, sure, fuck it. We ball. Hold it. Mark it. Okay, now that you have that. Bro, I have such a stomachache now. I had a stomachache before. I'm really doing well, you guys. It's awesome. Now, the stupid ruler keeps getting green flakes on everything. Now, you want to take your holes. Or you probably don't want to do this because it's an actual nightmare. You want to line up your holes. You want to get your thumbtack, right? Get your damn thumbtack out of here. And you want to hold that real tight. Oh, God. Because these things have a rocker up to the bottom. So it moves a lot. You want to get your holes right. And you're going to make your thumbtack. Nope. Yep, 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 yep. Oh, my God. And you want to poke little holes at the same thumbtack angle at where your holes are at. And if the ruler moves, you move it back. And this should give you, some holes that are somewhat in line. Now, once you do one side, you do the other side. See, that's how it works. Now that the horizontal line, see, will be a little bit more by eye, but the vertical line is what matters. See, because that's where the trucks go, and that's where how the trucks line up. See, so like that. I can't even see it. I'm just assuming it's there. So just make really. I can't even see that shit, bro. Whatever. Make really shallow thumbtack holes. Now, okay. This is the nose. Doesn't matter. Who cares? So you want to have the shallow holes, and you want to like really shallow. You want to look at them, and if something seems off, obviously fix it. But here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna take the holes. We're gonna gradually make the holes more impactful. See, okay. So if a hole is looking wrong to another hole, you want to enter the hole with a thumbtack at an angle and then yoink it out. So you're gonna be expanding it in a different direction while you're making the hole deeper. And you want to go around and make the holes like a millimeter deep or so, and then fix them as they become wrong. And so the thing with this is that you'll eventually end up with something that looks good, probably, if you do it a lot and you practice it a lot. I don't, but I should be able to. Usually they end up looking okay, but I have to fix it so many times. And this is the nightmare of doing it without a guide. Or a drill press for that matter, but it's more in terms of like the guide and like where to drill. If you can drill straight, if you want to drill something, even a skateboard, you go from the bottom up, because you're not mounting shit to the top, you're mounting shit to the bottom, and that's where the connection point matters. If your angle's really crazy, then it'll affect it, but if you're drilling stuff by hand, drill from the bottom to the top always, because that's where your mounting point is. That's where the holes should be connecting to the base plates. There's just a little idea there. So I kind of go around and make sure the holes are looking right. I use one eye. I sleep with one eye open, holding my pillow tight. And I just kind of go around and do that. I don't know. It's fun. I do this for a bit until it feels right. And I compare it to the center line. I compare the distance to the center line. And that's another thing. If you're not paying attention to the center line while you're fixing these things, it might end up floating slightly off center, which you do not want. You don't want that. There's really, I don't know. So once I get to this point where it's like, okay, those are pretty, they're okay. They're pretty good. I start sticking the thumbtack through. I go one at a time. And this kind of hurts my hands. But, fuck me, dude. That's because I'm on camera. I've actually never done it that aggressively before, and I actually didn't really, I think I just, whatever. So don't do this, ever. Don't do any of this. I don't recommend any of this. There's also a reason why I have like a ton of scars on my hands. On my fingers specifically. Because, I'm a dumbass. Don't listen to what I say. Or, heed my failures, So you're gonna start, you can see land through the hole, and you can start kind of seeing where things are off if they are. And if they are off and your hole hasn't been really like ran through. If it's pretty like you only stuck it in, I can't. Put it in at an angle and then twist it, and you might get a little bit of fix out of it from this step, right? This is not hole talk. Okay, we're gonna get one thing straight now. We'll be talking about no holes today. Not in this church. Not in this congregation. Okay. So, whatever. And then just go around and get the holes right. Look at them all different ways. It's not really going to be particularly helpful looking at them from the top, because sometimes your angle will just be a little off, and it's not that, I don't know. Again, the bottom point is the most important point. Okay. So once you do this, if you have any like blatant corrections you want to do, I use an X-Acto knife, and I just kind of like carve out one side very minimally, just a little bit. Like typically I have one hole that I want to do this to, and then I take my drill bit and I start with that hole. That's like the problem one that I've just fixed, and like you kind of like lean into where you just cut with the X-Acto, and hopefully you don't lean in too much, but you just kind of twist it through. I don't think this is just because I have soft wood. Like I think that's okay. But like I think it's more just because the hole's already made, so it's like just easier to put the drill bit through it. The reason I mention all that is because I never like hear anybody talk about doing holes this way, especially not with like a fucking thumbtack and a loose drill bit. Like that just seems a little bit like, no, you use a drill, you use a screwdriver, you use a, right? Everybody uses power tools to do this part. Yet, if you want to do precise holes by hand with no guide, you can't be using, I mean, you could drill this part. What's the point? You're just probably gonna like fuck it up. Like this, you can be so much more precise with a loose drill bit, especially if it has the hex bit connected to it. This is very helpful. If this was just a 1/8 bit, what am I using? I'm using 1/16. Yeah, 1/8 in a way. If this was just a raw 1/16 bit, it would be way harder. So it's nice to have, I just randomly have this. It's nice to have that. That looks good. You start to get a feel of like where you need to aim, and again, like if you put a slight angle on the drill bit while it's going in, you're gonna adjust it slightly. So you kind of get, I feel like so you want to be like really light with the drill bit as well, because if you feel like you're fucking up, you can always go in. There's like multiple ways, multiple times to like correct this process to where you're not going to like, I don't know, like it'll be okay, you know what I'm saying? Like you'll be fine if it's, so here's another thing I do after you fully drilled a hole. If it needs to be adjusted slightly, do a sawing motion and you'll remove a little bit of the inner material and you can make it even. Yeah, I can already see how that top hole is not going to be centered at all. How we got to that point, I have no idea, but it's just a fact of life, you know? So, aim your shit. And see what you got. Look at it from a bunch of different directions. You can use the X-Acto in the drilled hole. You can saw the drilled hole with a drill bit, you know. Okay. It's better. And so like if a thing is off, sometimes you can fix it by doing one side on like one direction on one hole and then the other hole that it's off by doing the other direction, and just like try to pay attention to your center line, that you're not straying far from it in like a way that's visually like, you know, distressing. This needs to be over as well actually. So this will play like a lot of tricks on you. And generally this is all gonna be okay when you mount trucks to it. It's not gonna be off. If it's off slightly, I mean, here's another thing for just like in general, if you have a fingerboard and you're like your truck, you notice your truck isn't mounted completely straight on it. A thing you can do, if the holes are wide enough, a thing you can do is loosen. Oh my God, loosen the trucks just a little bit. If you're not in like super duper stripped screw land, hole land on your base plates, if you can like make it wiggle a little bit, wiggle it into place and then tighten that where it's at, and tighten and really crank it down so it stays in a place where it's not slanted. Looking pretty good from the top, honestly, not too bad. Looking pretty good from the bottom, I must say. See, that does pay off. So now, this top looking slightly off to me isn't going to be super important because I have my Dremel, thank goodness, with, I don't know what this bit is called. It has like a little like serrated ball on the top of it, but all I know is I go halfway through the ball and that's a great countersink right there. Yeah. Yep. So, looks pretty good. Oh, got dust in my eye. Oh yeah, wear like glasses too. Probably don't, yeah. So clean that up. Poke the thing. Blow it off, I guess try not to touch this side too much while you're, I don't know. The pencil marks down. So that side is good. I have no idea how long that took, but it looks good. Now we just have to match that side to this side. So start again with your thumbtack. For being like a kind of stressful process, it does take quite a while. Like you are kind of like in mental anguish a good amount of time. I mean, it's not that bad once you do it a ton, but it is definitely at first. It's really annoying. But it's fun, I guess. It's just a torture of my own creation, honestly. But yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do this another way. I mean, I could just be totally lying, but like, pretty sure this is the way I'm doing it. Like, do I ever see myself actually like trying to get a real mold with like real shapers and shit? No, dude. Why would I do that? As long as what I'm making isn't so like messed up that people get mad at me, it is what it is. And it's pretty perfect. Like, it's really not that imperfect at all. It just doesn't come out of like a modern mold. I mean, we have a whole history of like Bondo molds and stuff. I've actually never made a Bondo mold proper. I've made like metal molds. I made molds out of tech decks. I wish I still had at least like pictures of some of those because they're really funny looking. Like, they all look really janky. I think I posted a metal mold on one of my stories. But yeah, most of them are just like in my head, and it's like, it's funny, but only for me. So, okay, I guess these are good. I don't know, you get to the point where you're just like, I'll fix it later. Like, there's just no point in like, can't believe I stabbed myself before. That's hilarious. I've like done it really like slow. I did it kind of like a little bit slower one time, and it actually like definitely made me bleed. But that time was like, I didn't even. Oh, it did leave a mark. That's funny. I wasn't expecting that for some reason, but I should be because I'm like putting a thumbtack like right where my thumb is. But it takes a lot of force to do this, honestly, because you're pressing through like a bunch of plies of glue and wood, and they're all like adhered together, cross ply. That's another thing. I saw people like arguing about like that you could make boards not cross ply, and I was like, what? And that like it wouldn't warp. I don't know about all that. Maybe. But yeah, that was an interesting to hear that people do that. I don't know if that was on FBU or what. We were talking about that. Yeah, I always do cross ply. I don't know. It's just the way that I've always done it, and it's how skateboards are made. So, I just feel like there's a tradition there. Not that I really care much about tradition, but it just seems to be like a sound theory of like crossing the plies. Yeah. Let's see what time we're at. Almost an hour and a half. Actually, yeah, this might go faster than I thought. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe 2.5 hours. I think that would be more my prediction. 2.5 hour project. The time goes so fast though, especially if you're like watching YouTube or whatever. I was just watching Nick Crowley's ghost hunting video that came out recently, and his videos are really good normally. So this is a fun little treat where they go to a hospital and ghost hunt. Even though all that stuff's stupid, I'd rather see Nick Crowley do it. You know, it feels like he's probably would be more skeptical than like fucking Zach Baggins or whoever. But I also don't think any of that shit's really real at all. So there's that. As I'm doing these holes, I see my top ply. My lovely Brazilian yellow heart starting to kind of like chip up at the other side, so I might try to be a little delicate. Might try to keep that in mind so I don't have a huge gash in the between the holes. That would not look good. But I think the person I'm making this for, I'm pretty sure I'm just like giving them stuff just because I like them and they've given me stuff before, so that's like more what I prefer. I prefer to make like gifts and trades with friends. Like that feels better than being like, yo, I'm gonna sell my shit and like make all this money and then like, oh my god, what if like a board's bad? I don't know, like what if I'm stupid? Like I don't want to make somebody feel bad, so I'd just rather give it to them for free. Like, you know. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay. Yeah, I can't tell. It just takes a lot of looking and mental calculation. I think maybe you have to have a lot of patience for this. If you fingerboard, you probably have a good amount of patience because everything is hard. FB is hard, as we know. But something's wrong about that groove, but what? It's this. Fuck, dude. That's crazy. Something's like so wrong and I can't figure it out. I think they might be centered too close together, but like not even that one is off. I think they're both off. So again, you just have to like adjust, and once it's over, it's over, but you just have to get through it. It's gonna be okay. You know, do your little adjusting. And honestly, holes can get pretty big. God damn it. Holes can get pretty big. Jesus, dude. Before like the screw head gets anywhere near being able to kind of like squinge through it, you know? Like if you adjust the hole past 1/16, you'll probably be fine for a bit, you know? Like the reason I say that is because I was like adjusting a set of holes the other day. And like I adjust them a lot. So fucking stupid. And they were really big. And like I dropped a screw into them and I'm like, oh, we're fine. You know, I was worried for a second. I was like, oh, is this like, have I gone too ham on these holes? And the answer is probably not, even if you're using 1/16, which this is a little big. What is like, I'm curious because I've never put this drill bit in a hole that's like, let's get a worm. I got a worm for you. Yeah, it's exactly 1/16, and obviously he only probably did this like first try. Classic worm. I love this board. Good board. Sometimes in the winter, sometimes it was starting to warp a little bit, but that shit is fine right now. But that's an Orly worm. They don't warp now at all, or they never. I think this one did in certain weather, very fucking slightly. But now when I look down a worm, that shit is perfecto. Oof. Fucking crazy. Where's my other one? Jeez. Like, yeah, just flat as a fucking, it's gonna say a beanbag, but I don't know. Flat as a mathematical plane. That's nice. Kind of feels like I feel like that has happened when I look down a flat face. I'm like, it literally is flat. Because they're like low concave, high kicks. But like, it's just like, and worms are like that too. They're like really mellow, pretty mellow concave and mellow kicks for sure. So you look down them and it's just like a fucking like, like you can really tell that it's not, that it's squared off. So, in terms of any warpage at all. So, let's see. Clean the holes up. Yeah, I don't know why I was getting these little, just sand those down and then they'll be fine with the lacquer in them. Getting a little bumps between here. Sometimes these things will split in depending on what wood you're using. Yeah, it does not look great. So, you know, be careful when you're busting through the other side. Like, just do it carefully with grace. With grace and panache, please. Your panache as requested, sir. Okay. So, that looks pretty good. Yeah, right? You know, just find things wrong with it until you can't. It depends on how much you care. If you're just using it for yourself, it usually does, like, you're not going to look at the holes for that long if you're setting it up, unless you're hanging it. But, like, if you're setting it up and using it, as long as they work good, you're probably chilling. And then look down it, see if they're in line. Hopefully they are. I think this may have drifted a little that way, but I can't really tell. Just in case, maybe I'll just put a little direction on these. Like, you don't want to do it too much because then there is a lot of room. Ah, my hand feels like it needs to be cracked. There's like a lot of room for the screws to wiggle around and make a bad direction. So don't adjust, you know, don't do this too much, obviously. But like, if it needs it, make it happen. Cause better they look good and perform good than they're like bad. I don't know. So that's pretty good. There's still glue on here. Whatever. So I'm gonna get our thing again. See that little thing starting to come up there. Oh, we got a little chip. That's fine. Sand it down. Any lacquer will kind of seal it in. Just make sure them things are clean. Run a drill bit through it, get the little fuzzies out. So that is our holes. Looks pretty good, pretty sure. So now, we want to do a graphic. Yeah, I think I have another one of these. Seems that one has some little stains on it, which I don't like. That's the shit I don't like. Know what I mean? So we're gonna get, I don't know where my scissors went. These are my veneer scissors because they're broken and they're shit. So I wanna. God, these scissors are bad. Ugh. Ugh. Ugh, God. Okay, whatever. I'm not losing my mind. So I print these out. I have like a laser printer that prints like, yeah, it's just like little fine dot toner stuff. It works pretty well, and I use it on. I think typically I print these on like low toner setting, and it gets like a lot of brights happening. Like it's not super dense, packed in. Like it's a nice kind of like newsprint. I don't know, but on some of the graphics that I have, there's the alien graphic. What's the nose? This is the nose. If you don't know what the nose is, I may as well remeasure it. Some of the blacks, if they get packed together too much, yep. If they get packed together too much, they'll kind of like scratch off. And the way I've combated that, like the alien graphic has like a ton of black in it on one side. It's just on one side. And I lacquer the hell out of those things. And I always wonder how they wear down. Like if people do a lot of board sides with them, like how fast, because I know once that lacquer gets thin, that black is coming right off, you know? And it might look shitty. So I don't want that, but it's just what I have. It's my laser printer. It packs this stuff on in a way that like, if even like while I'm putting the graphic on, if I touch it too much, it starts getting little white spots. So I have to like be really careful with it. This is also a pretty like nerve-wracking process. Actually, this might be the most nerve-wracking process there is. But in this process, if I fuck up, I can always just sand the paper off or like get it all off if it's in time. Looking for some kind of card, like a cardboard deal. Okay. So, I swear I can't stop saying that anytime I film something. For the graphics, I've been still using my Gorilla Glue because wood glue, not normal. So, the thing is stuck and I don't know where my wrench is. Just because I have it and I may as well. I gotta get my edges right. Yeah. Put it on your graphic is just gonna be hectic, I don't know. Because it's nerve-wracking. It's just scary if you fuck it up. Especially if you have anything that's like a big line. Like my other graphic, like the Ancient Harvest God graphic, has a huge line down the center of it. So that shit has to be right. So I make sure like one of my corners I can line the edge up with. You really just gotta like make a ton of mistakes. So I get my wood glue. Like that's important. You want to do it with wood glue. I think I don't know if like Elmer's glue would work, but I don't even know if anybody ever told me to use wood glue, but I've just always used wood glue. So you don't want it to be too thick. This is the thing. You don't want to get glue bumps underneath it, which frequently happens to me. But you want to get it like an even coverage that you can spread, and then use something and just like get like coverage. But if there's too much in the middle, it's gonna leave like a big mark. But if there's not enough, it's not. Fuck me, dude. That's crazy. We ball. Frick it. I mean, that's pretty much the worst thing that can happen. Of like getting shit in it. Because then you're gonna have like bumps. Again, I'm making this for free for somebody. I think my cat is like doing shit. opening doors and shit. That's cool. I might just quick add some wood glue to this because I'm really scraping it down. God, how stressful. See, that's the thing. When you have a thin layer of glue that's drying as you speak, and you know as soon as you put the paper to it, fuck. As soon as you put the paper, dude, it's like already drying. That's so crazy. It's so stressful, man. Like, dude, making a board will make your blood pressure go up. Or something. I mean, I'm generally pretty relaxed. So now I have a huge layer of glue. That's good. That's what you want. This has been way too long. This has been too long for this glue. It's already drying for sure. So you want to not do that. You want to you should probably sand it too, just a little, just to make sure it's smooth. I feel like I did a little bit before because of that situation. But yeah, get that shit on there before it dries. My God, get the glue off your fingers so it doesn't go on the paper graphic. Center it up using light. Like, put a light on. Stick the kicks down. Make sure your nose is in the right. Yes, it's on the nose. That's cool. Make sure your lines aren't looking. My lines are. Yeah, while the graphic is able to move, use that to your advantage. Make sure there's no glue on your thumb fingers. That's pressing the graphic down. Dude, it's so stressful. Make sure all the points, including the dips. Make sure all the dips are pressed down, because in a second this shit's gonna be pretty dry. And then look over the paper with a light, and if there's any big bubbles, you want to encourage them to not be bubbles. If there's any creases, you want to definitely press them down. Why I say encourage with the bubbles is because sometimes you press down a bubble of glue and it'll just make a hard shape that looks bad. It's very hard, in my experience, to get wood glue to be completely flat all the time, all over a thing. And just keep working it, I don't think I have any weird bubbles actually from the incident that we won't speak of. No big dust things. So it's drying. You can tell how dry it is if it's really cold, but it's on there. You want to look around your edges to see if there's any that are have a big space in between them. You want to start trying to round over your corners. And again, if you're using a graphic and you start touching it this much, I just touched it a ton because I'm frantic now. If you touch it a ton and the graphic starts coming off, that's a bad thing. If you have any big white spaces and you're touching it a ton, you might get stuff on it that's noticeable. So you want to not do that. While this is drying, I'm just going to undo the glue on my table because it's the table I use for everything. And I'm a very clean person, as you can tell. Very cleanly and precise. You just rub it in, honestly. It's like facial moisturizer. Just rub that shit in. It's good for you. Yeah, but wood glue, if it gets on your hands, you can just rub it off and it'll turn into little things. Okay. I don't know if wood glue is not good to get on your hands or not. Avoid contact with eyes and skin. Yeah, I don't know, man. Makes me more powerful. So this is on, and it's not totally dry yet, but I usually just start whacking away at it pretty soon. The thing I've been noticing that sometimes will happen, you want to use a really thin file, a really fine point file. You just want something hard and metal with a sharp ass edge that is serrated file wise. You want to start very slow. Oh, did I ever round over the corners? Oh, I never rounded over the corners. Well, we'll just be extra careful. This is not a good way to do this step. You want to, after you finish your shape, you want to round over the corners with something like this. You want to get your corners all looking correct, right? And yeah, I didn't do that step. because I was dreading doing the paper graphic so much, probably. So this will be very easy, getting the sharp edge. So normally when I do this, when it's just a rounded edge, you really want to be, I don't want to be messing up the graphic now. You really want to be careful about the line you're creating. And now I'm going to have to even be more careful because I'm creating the line into the graphic while I'm shaping the wood. So that's like double duty crazy. You also want to be careful that you're not like ripping your graphic at all. Like if any weird rips start appearing, you want to stop filing how you're filing and like go against it and like try to save the rip, unless you know you want to start all over. Which starting all over, which like who knows, I might have to start all over on this one. Sometimes I never know until like I get there. I'm just like, shit, I've totally messed it all up. But you really want to try to avoid that if possible, because you either have to sand the graphic off. Also be really careful about these creases because you're going to get bunching here. So you really want to like, it's like you're trying to grip your board in the most precise way with the thinnest tape. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. Whatever. Just don't fuck it up. And this takes a little practice probably, I would guess. But just don't rip your shit, because if you've just glued it, if you just put glue down and it's still slightly wet and you're going in like this, you could rip it. It could be that the paper is a little too saturated and it's going to not respond to the file in a way that's like, oh, just take some dust off me. It's going to be like, oh, just rip this whole shit because it's not glued down yet and it's wet, right? So here we can see that really crisp popsicle shape that we've made. But because, let me just start at the top, honestly, and let this dry a little more before I... So to round over a board, I can't believe I forgot to do that. It's definitely just because I'm doing it in a weird camera zone, probably. Everything's the camera's fault today, so it's not my fault, couldn't be. You want to hit your edges first. Just big sweeping strokes to round just slightly. Hit the edges. Again, try not to touch your graphic too much if you can help it. Just ever so slightly. There's probably a better way to do this. Or, yeah, so like the file first, a thing a lot of people seem to do is like use sandpaper that's a varying different grits to get like when I look at like the worms that I have, he just does such a good job at like making the surface of the edge like perfect. Where mine, I kind of just like go over it with a file, then go over it with some sandpaper and then lacquer it, and it looks a little more rustic and handmade, which I don't mind, but I don't mind at all. I think I prefer that for something I'm making, but I understand the perfection, the desire for perfection. I completely understand. I just don't have it because I'm not trying to sell my boards for that much money. And they're just goofy and silly and fun. So I just kind of, go around with a file and make a little edge on it. And yeah, there's really nothing much more to it. But for this side, I really need to play my cards right. I don't think I'm gonna put too much of an edge on it. Usually I put a good amount of roll to it, but I think I'm going to just try to get away with a little bit of a sharper rail on this one because it's such a risky this corner I've painted myself into. I've actually never done that before. I've never forgot to shape the edge. But you want to pay attention to your graphics line. You also don't want to make the edge of the graphic, you want it to be in because you don't want it to catch on anything and ever like come up if it's not glued right in a certain spot. So you just want to be really precise, but also like roll it over enough to where it's like a little bit out of the way of any like accidental like snag that maybe would happen. Like you really never want your graphic to peel, but if it does peel, just glue it back down. It's not a big deal. It's not a big peel. And you know, it's fine. It's just the nature of paper graphics sometimes, depending on what glue people use, which is probably why I would recommend using wood glue, because it's just like it's another ply. I mean, paper is wood, so. But see there, I've kind of fucked up that little edge. Really want to be careful. I fucked up even more. I dug the corner into it. So I'm going to go the opposite way so I don't do that again, right? And then I'm going to use my tool in a different way to get over that and don't repeat it again, what was bad, but also draw a straighter line and just really like feel it out, you know, like really like listen to what it needs and then give it what it needs. And the more boards you make, the more you understand what it needs in a certain moment of fixing an error or you know, sculpting it. It really it's sculpting. So I think if you've ever sculpted before, you could definitely understand how to get a shape looking like how you want it. Just really be careful of tearing the graphic because it still is a little cold, you know. Be careful of those corners that you don't go too far in as well, because it sticks out, so you really could blem it up, and you don't want that. So now graphics pretty good. I think what I'm gonna do is oh yeah, I do this anyway. Do the not engraving, but the wood burn on the top, and then lacquer it. That's normally the order I do it in. Yeah, I feel like this, whichever side this came out of, needs a little adjusting. So holes. Looking at the light, at my light source, just poke the holes. They're gonna look better if you kind of like treat the paper, and if there's any glue on your thing, get the glue off so it doesn't squeege all over. The holes are gonna look good if you kind of like pay attention to how you're poking them through the paper. Like if your holes kind of looked a little bad from the top, putting a paper graphic over it and then like poking the holes can just totally hide all that, which obviously I'm kind of like, I don't think I do. I mean, I've probably done that before, or it's benefited me before. It's not even like a hack. It's just like you put paper over it and it doesn't look as jacked as it might have looked from the other side. I guess I usually run through these with a drill bit. It's just really sketchy feeling. You just really want to be light with it and just really delicate with it, and you know, press the bubble at the end, at the side down, and just really kind of like be super delicate. Yeah, with that edge. So there's just like a little tiny like lip. You don't want a ton of lip. You don't want it to look like you just like rammed a thing through it. You want just a delicate little upraised thing. And if there's you know, sassafras, if there's a bug frass in there, if there's like shit in there, blow it out, put the bit in again, shape it out. Just get your holes looking right, you know. And if it feels a little gluey, like, careful, because you really don't want to tear your paper. Like, I'm having like a ton of material come off. That's making me nervous, but it's just because there's glue inside. What time are we at? Oh, almost 2 hours. This is genuinely I think it takes me a little bit longer to make boards, actually. That's why I never do stocks, because can you imagine how much time this would fucking take? Dude. There's no way. Like, I imagine that's what other people go through. What the hell is that? I'm getting this weird piece of like glue. Ugh. Kind of like mangled that hole. Stop, bro. Please. Whatever. Sometimes you just gotta leave it alone. If you're just gonna make it worse. But yeah, I mean, like, sometimes stuff takes me longer, sometimes stuff takes me sooner. Typically I do stuff like not all at the same time usually, unless I really have to. Like today I'm like, I need to get these boards out because I've been saying that I would send them to people for like a really long time, and I feel bad. So I just needed to do a bunch today. But dude, that's so annoying. Come on. Please. Whatever. When you lacquer over it, it'll glue everything in if there's little dusties. You know what I'll do? I'll plug. So for the wood burning on top, I typically use a soldering iron, a really old one with a tip I've never replaced. And you know, this is probably not the best way. I don't think it's unsafe. I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend a real wood burning device. This thing is just like a piece of shit, but it's what I got and it's what I use. So it also doesn't work very fast. So I like that. I like when things work really slow, because then if I fuck up, I can fix it. And it's not just like, oh, well, I blamed the board in like the exact last step. Like, I just can't handle that amount of mental anguish, you know? Like, I just don't feel like it because it's a hobby. I don't want to put that type of pressure on myself. Therefore, I try to alleviate all the different little ways that I could get stressed out in this process. So far, I usually don't hit anything where I'm just like, oh my god, I need to like put this down. You know, like, it's usually pretty chill. So I like that. I really like that. But you just gotta like go carefully. But typically, oh geez, that looks horrible. But typically on the top ply, I do the seashell graphic, the bedazzled seashell, and yeah, I just hand draw it every time and then burn over it, and yeah. But I'm sure if you needed a template, you could easily make a template. Oh my god, this is killing me, bro. What the fuck is that? Don't rip. Yeah, I feel like this wood glue is pretty good for getting these paper graphics done. I haven't really had a problem, except for if I do too thin of a layer and it dries really fast. It's just the most frustrating fucking thing can happen, because you're like, is like half of this paper not even glued? Like, oh, I just got spit on it. It's not good. I mean, it's fine because lacquer is water. The one that I use is acrylic, so it's fine if it gets slightly wet, because it will be getting wet later. Fuck. We're almost done here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there we have that. Now, just gonna put something down for this to be on. And then we go the graphic. Shape of the shell, and then the star inside of it. okay. Could be worse. I wait for this thing to heat up. It just goes really slow. It might be hard to see. Maybe if I put something under one of the sides. This is the little bag I keep all my sandpaper things in. Honestly, sometimes like Tech Deck grip tape is pretty good sandpaper. It just doesn't hold up very well, but it's a good grit for certain things. No idea if this thing is ready yet. Probably not. But I mean, that's pretty much it, honestly. Like making a board. It's not rocket science, but jeez, dude. I think I have like a few cool hot tips that maybe you can use to make a fuck. I already fucked it up. Just have to press really hard because it's not heated up yet that well. But yeah, this shit also takes forever. Can't believe I fucked it up. Like I usually don't do that. I think. Hope. Maybe I'm just lying to look like I don't fuck it up. But usually I don't. But yeah, you just kind of. I think it's fun. I like did this to one board. God, I'm like bad today. I think my hands are shaking because I'm hungry. I just really wanted to get this last board done, and I was like, I'm gonna film it. Oh, see, now it's heated up. Oh yeah. But I did this for one board, and then I was like, that's cool. I'm gonna do it for all the boards. I think I was drawing them on at one time, but that's not as cool. This is kind of like debatable whether you really want to like have a grip gap with this in it. Because I think I actually might erase that star because it's just so bad looking. So jumbus. Yeah, so it's a very, the whole thing is a very meditative process. Usually I don't talk while I'm doing it at all. But, you know, hopefully it's calming. Again, that paper part, I have, doing the graphic, like the screen printing is super stressful. Every board that I've ever screen printed for somebody, I've only done like a few. I'd like to do more, but it's like every board that I've ever done, I've wiped it off the screen print or had to sand the paint off. Depends on what paint I'm using. If I could just wipe it and it'll be fine. I've wiped it off maybe at least 2 times. Definitely more. I've wiped each one that I've done off like at least 3 times because either I just don't get the full thing, or it's because of, you know, a lot of people will screen print. Jesus, I almost fucked it up. A lot of people will screen print after or before. They'll screen print the ply before they press the board. And that makes a lot more sense, especially if you're doing multiple layers. Like, God, I can't imagine doing... I've done multiple... have I? Actually haven't. I was going to say multiple screen. I'm pretty sure I have before. I've done stenciled. Well, yeah, for basically, I've done screen printing skateboards, multiple layers without a table. So just like free floating screens and lining it up. But the thing with that is you have to like wash the screen out every time and like match it up. I feel like I've made this 4th quadrant a little too big, but nobody knows, so it's fine. What is it even supposed to be? You know? I really need to redo the star though, because it doesn't make sense now. Kind of. So yeah, if you're doing multiple layer screen prints, or a stencil plus a screen print on top for the lines, which is a method that I definitely endorse, I recommend printing it before you press. But with this, with my thing, it's so inaccurate that like I would do it and it just would, like the concave would be not even in the right place remotely. Probably it'd be slightly off because everything is I have to like measure it by eye. The star is the hardest part because you're hitting a lot of line connections, and with this soldering iron it doesn't really melt into it at all. It does, but you have to press it. So depending on where the dots are from this is actually going pretty good for now. It's just really easy to make a mistake and have it look jacked. Because it already kind of looks a little like wavy, but when it looks unintentionally wavy. That's the thing with like, even with art in general, if you make it if you make something that is unintentionally bad, wrong or something, like if you make it intentional, like if it's clear that something, even if it's not clear, I feel like there's just like a vibe sometimes when something is intentionally a little fucked. There's a fly. It's just like better for some reason. I don't know. Like that can, like if something's intentionally a little fucked, even if it's not, like there's like a weird like sixth sense threshold where you're like, this is cool because it's not perfect. I'm not saying that about this, but like in other stuff, like sometimes that can be magic, but sometimes something is just bad. And I'm sure there's ways to do it bad on purpose and then have it be bad. I don't like how big that is, but you can't undo it. That's how it is. So somebody's gonna be looking down at that for a long ass time if oh well. So you're welcome. So there you go. Board. Now lacquer time, but first we need to take the scalding object off of the workspace. But yeah, so I have a wee bottle of lacquer. It's acrylic lacquer. Now this is the strip of bracelet I use for screen printing. I could show the screen actually. Where's the screen at? Actually, it's downstairs. Okay, I'm not showing the screen because I don't feel like going and getting it. But so here's I put a lot of coats of lacquer on, very thin coats of lacquer. If I could open the bottle. Jeez, man, why? Ow. Okay, that's good. Thanks. So I just put a lot of very thin coats of lacquer on. Now it's all bubbly because I've shaken it up. Because I try not to yeah, sometimes you get like little splotchy stains if you do it too much. You want to like seal the paper first and then lacquer over the seal, if that makes sense. And then you start doing the rails and everything. But you just want to get a really thin layer on first, and that'll dry like within a few seconds. And sometimes I'll even like flip it and hit the top while I'm doing that. You can do, oof, gross. You can do a little more heavier on there. You don't have to be so delicate on that. I mean, make sure your surface isn't covered in sawdust. Ugh, kind of weird. So I'm just gonna go back in. It's not a very good idea to just do like a ton of layers and never let them dry. Like even with this, I'm starting to see a little bit of like see like there how it's a little gray. Hopefully that'll dry out. But that's what you don't want if the whole, because I flooded this doing the top. Don't love that. Just gotta be really careful. Like there's these weird little gray spots that are not part of the graphic, and if those get like baked in, it's a bad look. It's good to have this being like as crisp as possible, so I'm probably gonna chill on this for a second. I mean, this is pretty much a finished board. I mean, this isn't a finished board. I add like maybe 3 to 4 more coats until it gets shiny. But this is pretty much a finished board, so the time on that is like 2 hours. A board takes 2 hours. I gotta run and get my screen, which I believe Pretty sure it's downstairs. I don't know where else it would be. I basically just use a normal screen and put it inside the surface enough so that you can really bend it and mush the board into it. Eventually these things are probably going to get loose, but maybe I don't know, maybe there's a way to, it's still pretty nice and bendy and taut though, like a good balance between it. So, you know, I just kind of like, oh, you can't even see, that's good. Yeah, I just kind of like put the board up to it and then squeeze it and like look at where it is with a light behind it and try to line it up right, and eventually it works. So yeah, that's Bedazzled Seashell Fingerboard Factory. I don't know, yeah, that's fun. So thanks for watching. Welcome to my madness. I don't know if maybe someday I'll do this a different way, but I'm pretty set in my ways right now. This isn't looking too bad. And then just gloss, get the sides. Make sure that paper is sealed on there really good. Make sure your seal is not gonna come up. Probably should have sanded this a little bit more. Just finished it off. Like there's like a weird little bit right there, but I can still do that. The lacquer is thin enough where it's not gonna be like weird. I'm also just touching the lacquer that's wet. Like, I'm not really good at doing things precisely and perfectly. Yeah. Just gonna seal that in. A problem spot. That's okay. And we already see that nice Brazilian yellow heart is looking amazing on top. I'm going to be sad when I run out of that. If anybody has weird plies of wood and they want to send them to me, why is there a glue spot? Okay, I'm gonna deal with that. If you want to trade a board for some plies, some raw stuff, I am more than down. Yeah, so, ooh yeah, that's looking real nice. So, yeah, that's making a board. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Have a good day. Okay, bye.